Hello, humans. Today is Saturday, November 29, 6:45 a.m. Lots of people not awake yet, in many ways. Okay, so this is a little talk about complexity, your new world, and what's going on with you and your planet. It's all happening now, and we're in the midst of a complexity increase. This complexity increase is a collision. It's a collision of complexity forces. This has happened with 3i Atlas. It's been a major escalation at a number of levels in the idea of humanity not being alone. Okay, the powers that be can deny the UFOs, the UAPs, the drones, the orbs, all of this shit down here on Earth and put it off into, spooky woo-woo world. But it's a little bit hard with the 3i Atlas because it's so fucking big, 30 plus billion tons, and it's so visible, and it's doing some weird stuff. But they're putting a information embargo on it so that you're not aware of the weird stuff it's doing. Not that most humans would even give a shit. That's what I think is funny about the powers that be. They work so hard to obscure these things, not realizing that they're probably one of the, 1% that actually look and care about it. The powers that be have a really weird view of our world and humans, as we know, but I'm saying it's flawed, too. They really don't understand the nature of humanity, and they haven't learned to read their own secret society text that tell them how all this shit works. Anyway, so 3i Atlas is manufactured, created, built, and it was sent here by someone. We have no idea of the someone or any of that kind of stuff. All we know is that it was created, that it's not a rock, it's not a comet, and it's doing weird shit. And every time you hear the word anomaly relative to 3i Atlas, you're going to want to think artificial design or intelligent dynamic movement, something like that. Because it's not an anomaly, right? It's something we don't understand, and it's being done by non-human intelligence. Some things we do understand, though. It deliberately hid itself on the other side of the sun from us. It was aware of the limitations of our telescopes relative to seeing through the solar haze. It did something back there because Avi Loeb and others, including some Russians, are now saying that it lost mass. Okay, it gravitationally, when it came out, it was not the same object that we saw go behind the sun. This is to say it weighs less now, so it dropped something off. Who the fuck knows what, and who knows what it's going to be doing. Whatever it dropped off could have stayed there. It was at a point where whatever it dropped off would have been impacted by solar gravity, so it could have put a satellite around our sun, right? That we won't ever be able to see because of the placement of it, and we'll never know it's there. Another thing it could have done would have been to have sent an object or objects out into a particular point of space off of where it was at perihelion on the 29th of October. It could have sent out something, probes, could have put stuff in space and sort of given it a little scoot and headed it over to a particular point, and Earth will be at that point approximately next March or April. Coincidentally, 3i Atlas, as it came around the sun, adjusted its trajectory. Okay, so it's not natural. It's moving itself. It's aiming itself. It's done this repeatedly. It's altered its acceleration. And this time it adjusted itself with just absolutely exquisite precision. The precision is designed to place 3i Atlas on March 16th, 2026, at a spot between Jupiter and the sun, such that the sun's gravity doesn't affect it and Jupiter's gravity doesn't affect it. And I suspect it will release a bunch of stuff then to go drift down onto Jupiter, because that's the effect of all of this. If you like, kick stuff out of the right-hand side of the spaceship, when it's there, it'll drift down to Jupiter. So maybe it's going to colonize or invade, or however you want to think about it. Could also set up satellites around Jupiter in that same spot very easily. Actually, this would be a hell of a way to do satellites, and they could have done all of Elon Musk's Starlinks in a single day with their 3i Atlas. Anyway. So we don't know what 3i Atlas is up to, right? We can make conjectures, speculate, but we don't know what's going on. But we do know that our complexity is increased because 3i Atlas is in here, and it's space alien. So this means that now we have their interactions with our eternal now and with the human species out in the open. So this changes the whole UFO dynamic. These UFOs whizzing around down here and these damn drones and things. It's now shifted to it's downshifted all of that stuff. It's down-leveled all of that because of the activity that 3i Atlas is doing. Now, there's also other things going on. There's other objects out there that are messing around. So it's a very active time in our sun's solar system. And I suspect it's going to get much more so. So at this point, our complexity level has collided with the complexity level of the space aliens, and so we've multiplied, right? All of our decisions now have to, down here, and it'll come to you perhaps, but certainly at government, all decisions now have to be run through the very murky lens. They have to look at it through the very murky lens of what does this mean relative to what we have to do to 3i Atlas. And so we'll be making decisions down here on the allocation of Earth resources that may not seem rational, sane, or whatever from the viewpoint of a lot of people that don't know that government is now making its decisions after looking through this lens, okay? So it's going to get weird as they go on and they start trying to understand what they're doing relative to their new situation, the sudden multiplication of complexity. This is actually complexity squared, complexity times itself. Because we have all of the complexities of our civilization, our humanness and everything, which, as you have to admit, is, absolutely incredibly complex. And now we've added space aliens into it at a different level, at an officialdom level, where officialdom has to deal with it. Anyway, so, so on March 16 next year, 2026, 3i Atlas is likely to do something else over near Jupiter. And so I'm expecting it to lose mass again, to shed stuff for whatever purpose. We'll see how that goes, okay? Now, this is going to, the complexity raise is throughout our whole social order. And it's going to impact everything. So just the fact that government's now dealing with 3i Atlas, and Trump's probably getting daily 3i Atlas briefings, just that mere fact, even if it doesn't do anything extraordinary for months and months and months, just goes trucking out to Jupiter. Even though it's now raised the complexity where everything has been somewhat accelerated and decisions are being made at a different level. And you're going to start seeing a real focus from high-end government on personal and community, collective, and planetary defense. So they're going to start talking about getting your fat ass in shape. They're going to start talking about United States citizens taking weapons training of all kind. You're going to see shifts that start promoting martial arts, exercise clubs, all kinds of stuff. A lot of it will come in under Robert Kennedy and the Make America Healthy Again movement, but you're going to see it has a distinct personal defense focus, okay? This is what I've been saying for years. Practice armed defense daily and train your mind and body daily, okay? Years I've been saying this because I've been years ahead of these guys. But this is going to be the move. This is going to be the theme that will emerge by fall of next year, is a rededication to a fit America at a level that is going to boggle your mind. It's going to twist your noodle, okay, because you're just not prepared for it, and you're not prepared to, it just is coming out of the blue as far as you're concerned. It's totally unexpected, but it's going to be, and it'll actually come out fairly dramatic. You'll see a lot of people really pushing on it at all different levels. It's going to be quite odd for many of the spectator humans in our social order who haven't understood that now, or haven't seen this coming and haven't understood until now. You're getting involved. People are getting on your case about shit. So part of the rise in complexity is going to be this increasing social pressure here in the United States. There will be social pressure the opposite way from the blue hairs, right? So there will be people putting social pressure on you to conform to a physical body type, healthy, and, not incredibly covered in ink and all of this kind of thing. So it's going to go that other way. It is to some extent a reaction to that, to a rejection of that, that whole ethos of altering humans, and it's certainly a focus on trying to recover your base humanity. You'll see a lot of words like primal, authentic, original, all different kinds of words about the nature of humanity that will be resurfacing. As these words resurface, you can take them as indicators of this movement going through the social order. This is going to really piss a lot of people off. We're going to have things like corporate fitness clubs. First thing in the morning, everybody will do exercises before they do work, like they do in Japan. There will be, corporations supporting all kinds of physical activity and mental activity training after hours that employees can get into. It's going to be a change in the culture. This is part of the personal and planetary defense thing. There's going to be lawsuits about this, about the fitness part, and the people will be shocked when basically the courts say, no, suck it up. They're paying you. They want you to be fit, not hungover, and, not 500 pounds and dying. So you got to suck it up and do it. And, or don't work there. So this kind of thing is going to change the social order. And that'll be rapid enough that there will be articles about it. People will become sensitized to it because it will just sort of, in their opinion, just sort of come out of nowhere. Anyway, so enough about that. But anyway, so that part of the transformation is underway, and it'll be visible to you fairly quick. This transformation is the collision of all of the complexities, and the reaction to it on the part of individual humans and officialdom. So the complexity is going to be rising because it would have been rising anyway without 3i Atlas. Let's just be clear about that. Okay, so now we've got an increase of the complexity of aliens in general because of 3i Atlas. And this is going to bring out a reflective sensitivity to both. As we get more and more reports of UAP activity, more reports of drones, more reports of revealing, it's not disclosure, but revealing of what the government knows, we'll get more sensitivity to 3i Atlas and what it's doing, and that will reflect back, and then we'll get more sensitivity about the UAP, UFO issue. And so it'll be really also rising along with this background of personal and planetary defense, which links into your personal fitness level. So anyway, so all of this stuff is going to be coming out here in 2026, and it'll set a theme for decades. The fitness thing here might go 30 or 40 years without any major alteration of the social pressure. Okay, so as far as drones, we've got those here over the house here and over this area. They're large. They've been seen here. I personally have been out looking at them and stuff repeatedly over the past 15 days or more. There were some here before that. Then there was a gap with none, and now they've been around for about the last half month. So I've had a chance to observe them. They're not a helicopter. They're not a carry it in your backpack kind of drone. They have very interesting performance characteristics. They don't appear to have, or the noise, they do make some noise sometimes. It's intermittent, and it doesn't appear to be conditioned, so it's not like because of wind or anything. They're really huge, okay? So I've had them right over the house, and I could look straight up, and even at a slight angle, so I can get a couple of different views of them, at reasonably low altitude. So I know the height of the trees here because I've had to deal with them, and so I know that these drones are about 350 feet up, the two that were closest. And there was good observation distance, even though it was night and moonless on all of them but one. There's enough reflected light that even at that height, I was able to get some level of or some sense of what I was looking at. And what I'm seeing is quite large. So it's easily I could easily put an SUV inside it, right? I could easily put a large pickup truck inside these things. They have odd lights, whites, strobes, sort of a creamish white, steady light. They have red lights that vary in intensity and blink rate, and they have green lights that are occasionally showing, but it's not like navigation lights, okay? So these are not port and starboard indicators. Both the green and the red are on the bottom of the device, and there's red lights all the way around in some other places. So it's not consistent with our navigation light understanding now. Maybe there's some secret navigation light thing, indicators that the government's got and they're not telling us about, who knows. In any event, the drones are mostly silent. Occasionally I've heard noise from them. I'm uncertain as to what was the cause of why I was hearing that noise. You know, it's sitting up over me silent, and then it makes a little noise, and then nothing happens, and then at some point later on, it moves off or changes direction, right? And then once there were helicopters coming in, and just before the helicopter noise dominated, I thought I heard a sort of a clunking noise out of the drone. It was very close at that point. Could not have been more than 350 and probably was closer to 300 feet up. It was mostly silent until then. Anyway, so whatever. They seem to sometimes make a little noise. It's not a whirring noise. There's no sign of any propellers. There's no sign of any propulsion system. There's no exhaust. And they can just sit there and just hover. And they're big, like I say, right? So very unusual. The winds at the time they're hovering in my location here were not all that fierce, but nonetheless, they just sat there for 15 or 20 minutes at a time on the other side of the this area here. So I was watching them some distance off over other people's houses. And that's really how I mostly see them. The only reason I was aware that they were over the house was because a neighbor had an angular view of my property, told another neighbor who told me. So I was able to go out and look up and catch sight of them. Now we're all the neighbors in this area, we're all looking up above our heads because these fuckers are floating up there. And it's a little disconcerting. They haven't done anything. I can't tell if they're screwing with stuff. I've had all kinds of Wi-Fi problems, but other than that, and then I'm in such a rural area that, this is sort of to be expected. In any event, so the drones are their own subject, right? And we'll see how that unfolds. I have a bet going with Heidi that Trump is going to come on out and talk about what the U.S. government knows about UFOs. I don't think he's going to reveal it all. I think he's going to be quite tight-lipped about it, but I think he will, be the UFO president and make an official announcement. I think he'll do it for a bunch of reasons. I don't think he can let this particular opportunity in history pass him by, and there's going to be real, at a political ego kind of a level, right? I think he would like to have that attached to his legacy. And I think he'd like to do it well. And that's the real issue, is that it's the level of complexity involved in this is mind-numbing, okay? Because they're examining it as a complication, though, not a complexity. And there's a difference in thinking involved when you approach things. In any event, so I think he will, and we'll see if Heidi or I win the bet about Trump over this next year. I think it'll be next year, maybe 2027 in the first half, but I don't think it's going to go much beyond that because of the acceleration of events and all the other crapola that's coming down. And all this stuff the secret societies know, and the increase in the complexity, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so, all right, so the complexity, the aliens and the increase in the complexity is going to hit us in a couple of ways. And I'm of the opinion it's going to impact our eternal now and how humans interact with the pleroma, the source of all. And I think it's going to be, it probably already is impacting us that way. But here's the thing. We're at this point where there's a number of sources for it, and I've contributed to that by writing an annotated version of the sayings of Jesus about it. But what's happening is the emergence of the art and science of manifestation into the general social order. And this is part of this overall cultural change that will also participate and support and interact with and pump up, pun intended, the physical culture emergence, okay? So don't get me wrong, it's going to be tough to be out of shape, blue-haired, and hold wrong opinions because the social order will be changing, and there will be a very distinct social pressure to get your act together and get in shape because you're costing the society in general by your slack ass attitude. And this will emerge, and there's going to be a lot of contention, and a lot of people won't like it, and this sort of thing, right? We're going to examine a whole lot of things. All right, so anyway, so in this coming year, the art and science of manifestation is going to really break out, and we're going to see again, like a focus on it as people devote a lot of their attention to it because it will be highly attractive to them. A way to change their life, including, getting to the point where they do exercise and that kind of stuff. They can change themselves with this. And so there will be support groups and all of these kind of things forming. And people will make money at it. I expect in fact, I'm shocked that idiots like Wilcock and Corey Good haven't tumbled to this and aren't out there pimping, David Wilcock's Science of Manifestation course for $330, where basically he's manifesting wealth into his pocket and, selling you stuff you could easily find for free. And you can find all this. Go and look at the, Neville Goddard videos on YouTube. and just piggyback off of that. There's a lot of people doing what Neville Goddard had done, and now there's a lot of new proponents of this. And you'll see people that are successful. Now, since I've written so Jesus spoke about this in the 114 sayings collected by Judas Thomas, right? And I wrote up an annotation. It's called The Eyes to See. You can get a free copy on my Substack. You can buy a copy on Kindle, on Amazon on Kindle, and you can get a paperback on Kindle. Eyes to See, Clif High. It's also called The Eyes to See, Tom's Book Examined. It's all about the Gospel of Thomas, these 114 sayings, and how they are 100% directly focused on teaching people to manifest, as Jesus did. So anyway, you can get these, you can go off and you can start doing the work yourself and change yourself and change your reality. And this will start becoming quite the thing. As I say, because it's attractive, because it works. So since I've put the Substack book out, I've gotten a fair number of emails about it, and people are reporting success. So one guy sends me an email and said, he was in a really shitty place relative to money. He's got a job. He is like 22, but his job is shit. He can't find much work where he's at. Not going to betray any of his circumstances, but basically what happened was he came across my book. A friend of his sent him my ebook, a link to my ebook off of Substack. He started reading it, and the friend had told him that I also recommended Neville Goddard, and he went and listened to some Neville Goddard YouTube videos. And this guy is all like I say, he's like 22. And he wrote me this letter 5 or 6 days after encountering all these things. He had a sales job. He's not apparently very good at his sales job, or he's selling shitty products or something. I won't go into it, but he didn't have much success with it. And he said he did this solidly for 5 days. And he was absolutely shocked to get up one morning and find an email from somebody he had tried to sell to 3 months earlier, who just out of the blue, because he didn't work, he couldn't sell the guy on whatever the product is, and out of the blue, he gets up and this guy is contacting him and saying, hey, I want to do this now. Let's get this done. And so the guy is writing me. He's all flabbergasted. This was apparently for him, a very large sale. And so he's absolutely thrilled. And then he said within the next 2 days, he'd gotten 2 other sales. Again, just one, he didn't go into any of the details, but one can assume that it's this burgeoning attitude. It flows out of you. It starts reflecting in all of your activities. It affects all of your outlook to life. You project positiveness, and the universe reflects that back. Now, I've gotten a number of these, right? A number of these emails, people having these effects. It's worth pursuing. It's going to really take off. It's growing now. It'll grow more rapidly than interest in physical culture, but the physical culture stuff will be reinforced by what government's going to do, and the complexity of everything around us is changing. This is going to really impact the social order. We're never going to go back to anything approaching simplicity, but you will find that over this next couple of years, there's going to be a, quote, return to authenticity, or return to the past, or return to our primal nature, something like this, in the way of a general collective movement. And it's not we're not ever going back to a more simpler time, but what they will do is attempt to bring forward aspects of the nature of humans into the general social order operating on a daily basis. This is going to cause its own levels of disturbances, as there's tussles and scraps and fights about what is authentic, what is our primal nature, etc. And that'll sort of get settled out over these next few years. You'll find that a lot of people have divergent ideas about it. An aspect of our increasing complexity here is that you're going to see that lots and lots and lots of divergent, splintering, sometimes even antagonistic ideas will all be blossoming at the same time around specific kinds of memes. So, for instance, you'll find that the physical culture meme will go through the entire social order, and it will have variants, right? So even the blue-haired guys will suddenly start getting into being physically fit because they'll think that they're being threatened by the larger social order and that they can't get support from the government, so they've got to take, so the roles will reverse, and they will become the isolated loner kind of thing, where they're, out there trying to get jacked because they figure they got to work their ass off to survive against, the rise of the conservative alt-right or whatever the hell their particular demon is. But a lot of these things are going to shift as the collective of humanity is greeted with the idea of, official UFO revealing, which has got to come out, as well as the continuing rise of space alien information coming into the society and interacting with us at all these various different levels. And so you'll start even seeing it discussed in your corporate work. It's going to be weird. I'm not kidding you. It's going to be quite strange. Lots of people will have a hard time with it. But there we go. This is part of our coming year. It's going to be very complex, though. This little talk is mainly on the aspect of the critical era coming up in personal, collective, and planetary defense of your mind, of everything. So the government's going to get really freaked out about that, the potential for aliens to be fucking with our minds, and all this kind of shit. So they don't know how to react to it. It's going to get quite odd as we go forward. A lot of it will fall away, so don't get too hung up in any given aspect of that oddity. I think that's it for here, for this bit. I'll do more of these as I'm able to. My personal complexity has risen in my life because I am interacting with Heidi, and so, her complexity and mine have to merge. And so it's an interesting process. It doesn't leave a lot of time for other things. We're at this point, though, where things are moving around, so to speak. So if you think, one last thing here, if you think about things at a very deep level, especially with the art and science of manifestation emerging, that is a huge pointer to the consciousness paradigm, right? The ontology paradigm, where basically it can be stated this way. There's only two things that exist in this reality: supreme consciousness and the illusion. Your body, your mind, your thoughts, your life, all of your lives, everything, all your suffering, all of that is within the illusion. The material reality is within the illusion. So it's very easy to drill down on a lot of these things, and it provides you with a different frame of reference when you're trying to analyze things if you approach from this consciousness first and only viewpoint, and you drill down, okay? Now, next year, so sometime in 2026, maybe, given the linguistic indicators, maybe we're talking the middle of the year, sometime around in there, into the general language, we're going to start getting this idea about the effectiveness of the manifestation, which is going to, art and science of manifestation, which is going to lead to a bunch of ideas blowing up through the social order and a bunch of new personalities raising up all kinds of new and interesting thoughts, one of which is going to reach out and dominate a great section of our society from like mid-2026 onward for maybe decades. I don't know. It's going to have a long lasting, permanent, which is fitting, aspect of humanity, okay? And this can be encapsulated into basically a single statement, and you can think about this. So, art and manifestation, art of manifestation, art and science of manifestation, it proves, because it does work, it proves the nature of our reality being supreme consciousness and the illusion. And you're able, as a little chunk of supreme consciousness that thinks itself isolated by the illusion, you're able to interact with the illusion and alter that illusion to some degree within your life. Okay, so take that as the premise, and you go all the way back, and then you start thinking about things, and then you come to this idea that aging in the human body is within the illusion. It's an aspect of the illusion. All right, then we just put a period there. That's what's going to captivate lots and lots and lots of minds. Okay. And we'll pursue that thought later in other talks. I've got to get breakfast and get things moving here. Anyway, think about that though. All right, take care, guys. Watch out for the complexity, and train your mind and body every day, and practice armed self-defense daily.